Welcome at Puppetize Live 2018. Modules are a core concept of Puppet, and these are available since the very early days. But throughout the years, Puppet has regularly adopted to modern best practices. And from my perspective, these adoptions have an impact on how we should see modules nowadays. My name is Martin. I'm CEO and co-founder of Example 42. We do Puppet consulting like planning, setup, and development of Puppet-based infrastructures, and we do the official training courses. Within this talk, I want to cover some of the misunderstandings we usually see in trainings when we talk about, well, the different modules. In the very early day, people were using modules so they can reuse the code written for a specific implementation. But very soon, these people also learned that it is possible to write totally abstracted modules which are usable in a super generic way to configure all aspects, for example, of a MySQL database or an Apache web server. The main difference is that these public modules do not have any private information like certificates or passwords inside. They usually just provide same defaults. To allow for adoption, the Puppet module implementation of developers are using parameters to allow for individual infrastructure requirements. Some modules, especially the ones for complex services with many possible configuration settings, have a huge list of parameters to allow for individual usage. The default data usually have been placed to a params class, or since Puppet 4.9 are placed into hiera data in modules. As I already mentioned, Puppet has adopted the best practices over time. Besides this, we now have a huge number of modules available on the Forge, for example. And we learned that Puppet changed best practices over time. Especially the concept of roles and profiles introduced 2 more modules, which it goes for now 3 different types of modules, and this is what confuses people in training courses. So let's have a look what we have inside. We now must not focus only on the technical aspects which describe a module, but also on its origin and use case. On the lower level, we have technical component modules. On top of these, we have implementation and business use case module. But what's the main difference? Usually, when configuring a technical component, people will look for existing solutions on Forge or in GitHub. So these modules are written by other people, and they're usually stored in an individual Git repository for each of the technical component modules. On the other hand, we have our infrastructure, we have our implementation, and we have our business use case. So we do have implementations and business use case modules. This is code which we, well, hopefully won't find on the internet, because it keeps private information, but that we have developed by ourselves. To identify this difference, we place our own written code into another directory. Most solutions mention to use a side directory for your own code and keep upstream developed modules in the modules directory. Upstream modules, as I already mentioned, are each in a separate Git repository. So adding them directly to our control repository would break upstream upgradability using Git functionality. Well, some people played around with submodules, but there's another, more convenient solution around within the Puppet ecosystem, which is called R10K. In R10K, you specify your upstream modules which you want to use in your infrastructure in a Puppet file. There you can mention to directly download from the Forge or from its origin like GitHub. But usually you will add the local Git server URL, and you will always provide the Git version of a Git tag which to use. This allows you to use your own infrastructure only and to adopt module updates. Within implementation modules, you will do lookups to hiera for platform differences, and you will pass data to upstream module class declarations. For example, you have an authorization profile, which declares an SSH module, an SSSD module, and a PAM module. The different settings, for example for the SSH allow group settings, are then placed into hiera. When it comes to role module class names, we must rethink and have a look at systems from a user or usage perspective. For roles, it is important to not give them technical names. Consider using names which describe the use case, the "why do we have the system around" question. From a technical perspective, for example, you might say that the system is a web server and used internally. But when you ask the users, you will learn that this is the HR vacation self-service portal, so this is now your business use case. What makes Upstream modules so special, and why am I recommending to consider naming them libraries? Upstream modules, well, at least the supported partner and approved ones, have a high test coverage regarding test units where catalog is compiled in a sandbox and analyzed without applying the catalog. Additionally, you will find acceptance tests, mostly using Beaker and Vagrant or Docker, where the code is applied on a system and the system state is checked afterwards, checking that the setup is done as expected. Next, Upstream developers tries to implement best practices without breaking compatibility with Puppet-supported versions. Some people fear using foreign developed code. These are then reinventing the wheel, and once in a time they will just copy a solution done upstream into their own codebase. This is similar to maintaining a fork. Sometimes people learn that maintaining a complete set of modules can be very time-consuming. This usually is when you ask yourself why you haven't tried Upstream modules right from start. Try to get around the "not invented here" syndrome. Of course, you want to read a module carefully to understand its concept, its usage, its capabilities, and limitations. Once in a while, you should check for modules updates. Modules might get security fixes or new features. By the way, when it comes to feature, if you miss a feature or experience a bug in an Upstream developed module, you are highly encouraged to at least report the bug or even provide a fix. You're not good at Puppet code? Don't worry. If you believe that you're bad at coding, that's okay. People will help you and guide you to a solution which follows the best practices. Let's view our Puppet code from another point of view. We have written code, or infrastructure as code. Compared to any other programming language, we have written only code which specifies how to use a library. No Java programmer will do the whole TSL, TLS, SSL stuff or the MySQL bindings by him or herself. A good programmer identifies the best library to use for specific requirements. We do the same in Puppet. We implement Upstream developed code, libraries. This means that we should see Upstream developed modules as Puppet libraries. So, Puppetize everything, use libraries, write roles and profiles. Thank you.